Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Diversity is the Game Changer. And the name of our episode today, Diversity from the Deep. And I'm honored to present one of my PhD supervisors, Øistein Jensen, who has a really diverse and remarkable career. Everything from commanding submarines deep below the ocean to leading sustainability strategies in the global shipping industry. Øistein is the Chief Sustainability Officer in Odfjell. Thank you for being with us today, Øistein, and welcome.
Thank you, Valeriya, and thank you for having me on your podcast. So look forward to our conversation today.
Let's start immediately with a little brief introduction of Odfjell. For those who are unfamiliar with the company, could you please share the history of the organization and what, at your opinion, makes Odfjell one of the leaders in the shipping industry?
Yeah, thank you, Valeriya, for the opportunity to to talk about Odfjell. So we are a company that operates in a chemical tanker business. So we're a shipping company. That means that we own and operate a large fleet of global tank ships. These ships, they operate all around the world 24/7. And they carry chemicals. And chemicals, those are kind of those materials, those liquid materials that goes into everyday life and things that we normally don't think about. But we surround ourselves with chemicals all the time. And these are products that goes into plastics, like in your plastic bottle, it goes into makeup, it goes to paint and food and everything liquid. So, and those products, they are produced in one location and they are further consumed and refined in other locations. So that's where we come in and we transport these around the world. The way we look at it is that some of those products that we are transporting, some of them are quite hazardous, and we transport them through some of the most fragile environments through the world, so through the oceans, and that means something for us. It means something about our responsibility for safety and also for sustainability. And sustainability for us is about having a long-term perspective on our business. It's about those decisions that we take today that we're going to live with in the years ahead. And I think that the best example of our success in that is our 110 year of history that we celebrate actually this fall. So that is what sustainability is about for us. And the other thing is that while shipping industry is the most environmentally friendly way of transporting large volumes over large distances, it still emits a lot of carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, those are very challenging for climate change and contributing to climate change. So if you look at the total shipping industry, it's about 2.5% of the world's CO2 emissions. That's the same as the country of Germany. So that means that we need to do something about that, and to achieve those targets set by the IMO and the International Maritime Organization is something that is really important for us going forward, and that's why sustainability is so high on the agenda for a shipping company.
Thank you, Øistein, for sharing the history of Odfjell. Could you clarify a little bit more? Is it big company? Is it middle-sized company? Is it a short sea fleet, or it's what kind of company is it? Because I know that different companies in shipping, they have, of course, like you said, you are the second most environmentally friendly area, right? But we also know that shipping industry is quite capital intensive industry, right? And it means that to be adaptable in comparison with other sectors, I would believe it's not that easy. And I'm sure that your role in as a sustainability officer is critically important. How you can combine really capital intensive industry, especially if it's huge tankers, it's not just short sea fleet, and how your company can be adaptable to new sustainable requirements, and what is your role as a sustainability officer? Can you explain a little bit more what this entails?
Yes, of course. There were several questions there, but to answer the first part with regards to the company's size, I think that they say that the average ship owner in the world owns 4 ships. So that means that the average around the world is quite small ship owners. Odfjell is one of the larger ones, so we own and operate a fleet of about 80 ships. And when I say 80, it's because there are always some ships coming in and some coming out. So in our segment, in the chemical tanker industry, we're absolutely one of the biggest in the world. And those ships that we operate are highly specialized, and we're a listed company on the Oslo Stock Exchange. So we are regarded as a large ship owner, and we are also one of the kind of mature owners. That means that we have been able to be quite ahead with regards to sustainability. So my role in this, and the way my role developed, is that when I started in Odfjell, I was starting as the chief of staff, having an overall responsibility for all our corporate functions. And we did that for several years, and after a while, we saw that we really needed to focus much more on the efforts that we did on sustainability, especially in order to comply with the external regulation on sustainability. So we sort of took away some of the role, some of the tasks that was a part of the chief of staff. We recruited new leaders on those topics, and we allowed me to focus on sustainability. So that means that my role would be having the strategic and overall responsibility for all the efforts that we do in environmental matters and social matters and governance matters, making sure that we have a integrated strategy, that we integrate sustainability matters into our total strategy, whether it's an environmental topic, or it's a social topic, or it's a governance topic. So that's kind of my role, to make sure that that is integrated into what we do, and also that we're performing in line with those targets that we set and follow the regulations.
Yes, thank you so much. And actually, the following question will be about regulations. Could you please break down a little bit more about, you have already mentioned in the first answer, about International Maritime Organization's decarbonization goals, and what actually do they mean in practice for Odfjell?
Yes, so the shipping industry, in the deep sea shipping industry, as we say, and as you perfectly pointed out, that it's very capital intensive. That means that it requires a lot of capital. Not everyone can go buy a tanker. In that industry, the only kind of commercial available alternative is a combustion engine, and that combustion engine has to run on fossil fuel, and that fossil fuel, like diesel oil, that emits a lot of carbon dioxide. It's not an easy switch to do the alternative. So that's what the industry headache is about. How do we actually do that? What's going to be the new alternative fuel of the future? And the only one that can regulate international shipping is the United Nations International Maritime Organization. And they are the kind of the agency that regulates international shipping, whether you're operating international waters, or you're coming to Norway, or you're coming to US or Africa. That's still regulated by the International Maritime Organization. And last year, that organization set the target of achieving a net zero emission in 2050. It's still a long way to 2050, but it's a very, very important target. And the challenge is that today no one really know how to get there. And I think that that's the big challenge now. We know that it will be multiple different actions that we need to do. We need to change the fuel with waste.
Krishna, what's happening now again?
Yeah,
Now my phone.
I think no, it was a disturbance in the line there, so I think we're back.
Yes, and this, I don't know, my phone probably a girl. She wants just Saturday rest and fun. I'm sorry, our listeners, it's actually already double. We try to make the best professional quality for you, and we do all the best. Me and Øystein will even come to our offices on the weekend. So I really hope that internet will be friendly with us and sustainable next 1 minute. Resilient. We need really resilience from this internet line. I'm sorry. And could you please continue?
Yeah, so basically, as I said, the IMO, International Maritime Organization, has set a net zero target, and that's our job for the next years ahead. That we need to make sure that we are coming down the emissions to 2050, and that's not only about the technical thing. It's the way we are operating. It's the way we train our people. It's the way we set our strategy. It's the way we buy ships and build ships. So that's going to shape us dramatically in the years ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for that interesting answer, which give me a thoughts, of course, because I am originally from Ukraine, and you have said that these goals, which International Maritime Organization has set, like totally decarbonization, right, until 2050, and I agree also not just probably shipping industry, but a lot of industry, they really don't know how for sure to achieve these goals. But I think also because of very unstable political situation now, and I'm sure that it affects a lot of shipping industry, and we all have to deal with not just decarbonizations and transparency and all different aspects which impact sustainability, but we also should care about energy independence because of the war in Ukraine, in Europe. And I know even in my country, right, I'm sure that Odfjell is uh, also affected about everything which is happening with Ukraine and war and political situation, and how you can see the connection between energy independence and your industry and the political situation in country now, how we can actually make prioritize and decarbonization or political stabilization. It's really
Yeah,
challenging time we are living now.
it is, and it is a big dilemma, and I look at it in two ways. One is that for the shipping industry, most of shipping's volume is related to energy. So big oil tankers, they are transporting energy. And then you have slightly smaller tankers than the biggest ones, still bigger than we are. They are transporting energy products like gasoline and then you have gas carriers. So and we transport chemicals. So they are all a part of a total value chain. And that means that when there are disruptions in that market, when there's a big demand for some segments, that will also affect the other segments in the kind of the total chain of shipping. So yes, we are not operating directly either in Ukraine or with Russia, but we are highly affected by the energy demand and the way that is operating. With regards to energy independency, I think that has been clear that countries need to focus on alternative ways of getting their energy. And that means that you cannot rely on a country nearby you to provide you with gas. And a lot of countries in Europe were dependent on fossil gas from Russia, and they shut down and they lost the incentives of really producing renewable energy. And I think that is also something that's going to be a big geopolitical driver for energy independency and energy security, that for those countries that do not have fossil energy available, like Norway or like other countries, you need to look at what's the alternative with wind turbines, with solar power, with thermal power, wave power, and other kind of renewable energy, and also in that space, the nuclear energy. So I think that's the big driver as well, that you need to look at independency on an important topic for your countries.
Yes, absolutely. And I think even my country now, they try to they're really resilient. I'm so proud. They try to see on all situation, even when it's so crucial and it's so dramatical from double sides, like all the medal has two sides, that at least the new construction, the new investment, which is coming now to rebuild Ukraine, they are also understand that they should be more independent, and they really make all the possibility to prioritize independent resources for energy to be most possible independent. Okay, I would like to continue and transition to our podcast focus, which is diversity is the game changer. And I know it's a highly prioritized topic in your industry as well, and mostly probably when we are talking about gender diversity, because we still know that shipping industry, it's a conservative old history, very respected, a great industry, and but still it's a men's industry, right? And though we know that the great vessels, they are ladies, and you even call them mother vessel, right? So I had no idea before I made my homework in advance for our podcast, because in my language, ship is a guy. And I have never thought that actually ship is a lady. And it was a big boss, like Titanic, a lady for me, like for example. But no, I could hear the Delphi conference and all the ladies, they said, and remember, it's a vessel, it's always a respectable lady and mother vessels. So how could you actually marry these two not problem but challenges, like male dominated industry with actually really lady vessels, right? And now we're speaking about diversity, and I would like to challenge you to start speaking about more in the practice in Odfjell, what actually you guys do. I know a lot of companies speak it's a gender sustainability diversity, but when I'm talking about like a real strategy, because it's subject of my research, diversity management. So I really would like to know what you, and I'm sure that your executives, so you really the first person I really can speak and provoke nästan like, okay, I know everybody speak, but what you do?
Yeah,
It's
there was
diversity.
thank you. Multiple different questions there at the same time. So let's start with the old, in the old way, old times. It was and still is in many countries. The men went to sea and the ladies stayed home, because when you're going to sea, you're away for a long period of time. And in some countries you still are. So some are seafarers; they're at sea for 9 months before they come back to their families. So it's not always a very family friendly way of working. So and that means that we are also recruiting some seafarers into our organization on shore as well, and that means that we are having this legacy of a lot of male in the organization. And yes, we call a ship a lady. Seafarers, they love their ships and they love their ladies. So I think that that is something, and the shipping industry is also very superstitious. All it's very rare you see a ship has a male name. If it has a name, it either has a kind of a function or a kind of a non-gender name, and if it had a name, it will definitely have a lady's name. So we see her to the vessels. Yes, on diversity. So let me have a look at it from my personal perspective when I'm looking at diversity as a topic. I think that the industry is our shipping industry is an international industry. We have multiple different people from multiple different locations in our office. So it's about 18 different nationalities working here. So I think that that has been something that it's always been there. It's a 100% international business. We have offices in 18 locations around the world. We talk to each other all the time. So that kind of cultural diversity element is something that is, I would say, very much mature and adopted in the shipping industry. We have business every day with every countries and people around the world. So I think that that is working quite well. Another topic is, of course, the gender diversity, where we are really lagging behind, and it's a male-dominated industry. But if I kind of take a step back and look at diversity for me, I think why diversity is important. I think that in order to solve a problem, you would always look at it through your own eyes and through your own perspective to solve that problem or handle that task. And then you come to a point where you're not doing that in the best possible way, and you can only do that better if you got someone to look at it from a different angle, to look at the same problem from a different angle, and together you're able to solve that problem. You're able to do better business. You're better to understand others if you're able to have a more diverse mindset. And that comes back to my point, because diversity is about diversity of thought. And that means that you can add all the kind of different elements of diversity in there. But it's also that you and me, we think a little bit differently. So men and women think differently. We think differently about the problem. And that's why gender diversity is important, because you want to attract a different way on solving the problem and capturing opportunities. So I think that that is what we are looking for. And in order to do this transition that I talked about initially, that we're going to solve this problem of decarbonize a big industry, we need to be able to recruit talent, not only from half the population of the world. We need to be able to attract people from all the population, and that means that we need to be attractive for women, for men, and for all different cultures, in order for us to find the right people for our organization. So that's our kind of approach to it. When you're talking about the different, more practical and in detail what we're actually doing, so I think that that is a very good question, because a lot of people talk about it, but not all people talk about actually what you're doing. So there's a multiple different layers of activities that we do, and probably can't go into all of them, but some of the things that we realized, that when we did a advert for a position, it was written by a man. We used, when I wrote a notice for, I wanted to attract a person for an analyst in our company. We did the advert, and it was written by a man. And some of the words that we are using is slightly different. So that means that we are unconscious biased when we are writing things. So that means that we are now using a tool in order to make sure that we are able to equalize the language and make the language more neutral. Because as you have a word like potential, and potential, it's interpreted differently from men and women. And words like capability, performance, some are concerned about it, some seem that is motivated. So we're trying to look at, so we are cleaning our adverts on that. So that's one thing. The other thing, that we also make sure that we always bring women into our first round of recruiting. We always have women on the kind of evaluation team. Yeah, so we engaged with organizations like Women in Shipping and Trade Association. We engage locally with schools in order to attract and support women. So that's some of the actions that we do.
Great points, Øystein. Thank you. And I also want to still, we are lady, and we are thinking differently. That's why we also, okay, if we can hear something a little bit joyful, or which really sparks our interest, we always want to come back and ask again, because men, they always like rational, just already forward. And then, but you said like shipping industry, it's really superstitious. It's true. And now in my head, when it was this big guy ship, it's so strong, and when you baptize the ship and you throw the champagne, right, and you kind of hit this guy, he should be so resilient. So I understand, but now I really don't understand if the lady is vessel is, and why you should hit the lady with champagne bottle. If you love your lady, what this superstitions came from? Do you know this history?
No, not really, to be honest. But we try not to do that anymore with the champagne because it's not very sustainable or breaking glass, and so we're trying to do it a little bit differently now. But in some places we still do with the champagne. No, it's a good question. So I don't have a very good answer to that. I think it's a it's a big event. We're doing a naming ceremony, as we say. But it's always the lady that do the naming. You have the lady sponsor or the godmother of a vessel.
Okay, yeah, it was just sadly, it was very interesting for me. Yes, about diversity and recruiting campaign. It was always discussions, right? Who should be behind the making these schemes and how it should be proceed. And I think now we should touch a little bit about, of course, not just climate change, decarbonization, but also this trend like digitalization, which of course your industry also very in different ways affect, because many people, they are now very scared to miss their jobs and what's actually going on because of very rapidly digitalization in some industry. But for me, I believe actually probably it can kind of settle the problem, because you said like seafarers sometimes they have to be almost 9 months away from the family, but maybe now we can do a lot of stuff just simulating, just with the help of digitalization, which actually can be also encouraged to invite women to participate more. So it's just my opinion. So what do you think about digitalization in shipping industry? What can you see? Because it's more conservative industry actually, but is it good trend? What's your opinion about that?
Well, I think that digitalization it's extremely important, but we also need to kind of understand what digitalization is. One of the challenges with regards to digitalization, and especially from a shipping perspective and the different ships, is that it's the bandwidth, is the possibilities, as we have seen here, that we're challenging internet. Sometimes it's you don't have a cable to a vessel. You need to go through a satellite. Sometimes you don't have that access, and that means that previously it has been problems for seafarers to get home, get contact with their home, and it's sometimes been difficult to get data from the ship to shore. And that means that in order to do digitalization processes and that we can make our processes more efficient, take more educated and more analytical decisions, we need data. But we need also the opportunities for our seafarers to call home. So now that is significantly improved. So we have been using now the Starlink system developed by Elon Musk. So there's multiple of satellites around the world now. So we have increased the bandwidth. So that means that our seafarers can call home. They can do podcasts or having conversations with their loved ones, which is good. It's not always good when they have a fight with their wife when they're on board, but but that happens as well. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that we are able to collect the data from the engine, from the cargo, that they are able to do more educated and more analytical decisions. So that's where digitalization in our business really come to effect. And with regards to people are afraid of losing their job, I think that what I say to people that let's let computers do what computers are good at, and that's the kind of the boring things, the analytical boring things. That's what computers are very good at. Computers love that, and we should do what people are good at, and that's people interaction and having a sound judgment. and build judgment on the data that is available. So it's certainly a big topic in the shipping industry, but there are some restrictions, as I mentioned, with regards to access to data and quality data. But that is really something that we are working on.
Yes, great point. And I think if we would like to continue actually about digitalization and the possibility for you privately, of course, and all your seafarers to stay more secure, can assure their family and beloved ones that they are in secure situation, we use Starlink, and you have already mentioned Elon Musk, right? So it's actually smoothly coming to my next question, because both like me and Elon Musk and many other people, especially probably who are really crucially important in these digitalization inventions, they are actually neurodiverse people. And now this special emerging trend, like neurodiversity, attracts a lot of my attention due to PhD research, where I do a lot of different types of research about diversity, gender, and socioeconomic and cultural. But more and more, it's getting my interest about neurodiversity and how these people who proceed information and world differently, how really they can be used not just with label disabled, but like you mentioned in the very first answer, that you are actually so in your company and you as well appreciate the diversity of thoughts and you care about every single talent. And then it's really under this domain, I mean, neurodiverse people, they are really also talented people. So how you believe we should try to transfer our society approach to neurodiversity and neurodivergent people?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think that as you say, it's a quite new topic. It's not a new thing, but that we are able to bring transparency into neurodiversity and bring it on the agenda. I think that that is something new, and I think that that has been there because we have strong individuals that have been very transparent and open about it. So for us in Odfjell, this is not our area of expertise, either my area of expertise, but we have some reflections on that. And we have not done a systematic approach. We have actually had some discussions on how to approach that. But because that is, it's not always very easy. And again, neurodiversity is not my expertise. I'm not a psychologist, but for some of those neurodivergent people, that means that they are functioning very well in one setting and not so good in other settings. And that means that in 100% job, that means that a certain percentage is extremely well performed, and that can be 200% for that part of the work, but the rest of the work is not working very well. And some will struggle with the social elements, and some will struggle with other, with regards to order and feedback and the way that is handled. And some will struggle with concentration, but that means that they are probably very creative. And I look back on some of the kind of the big artists. I think I mentioned previously, but Ludwig van Beethoven. He's probably is one of my absolutely favorite composers, and he's absolutely one of the biggest composers in the world. He was not a very friendly man, and he was probably very neurodivergent as well. They didn't do a psychoanalysis of Beethoven, but he was known for being a troubled-minded guy, but he made some of the most beautiful and fantastic music. And another example, and that sort of one that I really admire, is Alan Turing. Alan Turing, as for those of you, a lot of you know that and have seen the movie about him and read the books about him, but he was the guy that cracked the Enigma machine during the Second World War. He was not very friendly. He was not a very good team player, but he had this kind of a brilliant mind that was able to think totally different than anyone else, and a fantastic capacity for that part of the work. But so that means that neurodivergent people, they have a extremely capacity in certain amount of tasks, but that means that they will be struggling in other tasks. And that means for us as a leader and as an organization, we need to think totally differently of the way we employ those people. And I think that for a mid-size and smaller company, that is challenging, because you in a smaller company, you're not only doing one small task. You probably do many other tasks, and you need to work together with other colleagues as well. In a larger organization, there's more space, and you're able to perhaps give a smaller task to a role. And when we're talking about digitalization or any kind of topic, and especially I'm quite sure that there are experts around that will struggle socially, but are extremely good in understanding advanced computer technology and mathematics. So, and those will have a big benefit for a lot of companies. So I think that just having transparency about it, that we are able to talk about it, it's important, and we are able to acknowledge people's feelings as well, and how people react. I think that is certainly a responsibility that we have as a large company.
Yes, I'm fully agree with you that if it's a big company, and I believe it's very connected with the main industry where you operate in, because maybe if it's small and middle-sized company, but still it's the startup or innovation industry or research and development, then it's probably opposite. Then they are actually targeting special skills within people, right? Like we are now in the middle of innovative economy, and all these inventions, they most probably are created by people who are thinking really, really out of the box. But when, of course, like military shipping, a lot of now we are coming soon to your personal life and career, like submarine, you cannot have a lot of prima donna and solo people who think totally differently, because sometimes you really should follow the rules, and it's the matter of life and security. But still, I'm sure that great people, especially when they're coming more open about their differently processing the brain, it's so nice, encouraging, and inspiring for other people. Because, like I've already mentioned, when I was put in this special category, neurodivergent people with OCD, so it was for me as well. First, when I went, who is actually has the same speciality, and many people now, but for me it was like even more like Nikola Tesla. He was totally neurodivergent, and he had the same OCD, neurodivergence. And when I read, can you imagine everything he has invented? But he was the guy who was afraid of the look of peaches. He couldn't take on his buttons, and before entering the every single building, first of all, he should go around 3 times. So it's many different strange things. It's just one of example, right? And okay, it's probably another podcast. We can go with some psychologists deeply in all these patterns, but I think it's very important to understand that yes, there are some different people, but maybe then different context can be adjustable, different industry. But shipping, like you said, maybe I'm agree that it should be really like the purpose of this task and profession. And after speaking, I already uncovered a little bit next question about submarine world, and because our podcast episode also named the diversity from the sea or from the deep. So for me, it's very fascinating. It's first time in my life I'm conversating, and actually you're my supervisor also. But actually, mostly we've been discussing professionally my subject, which is diversity management, and not that much about your diverse transformation from so deep in the sea right? And so globally on the, yes, all over the sea. Could you please share your private story? Because for me, it's still, I believe everything starts from the childhood. And like I mentioned, girls probably they want me from the beginning. When I was in the kindergarten, I wanted to be a teacher in nursery. Then I want to be a school teacher. But then my mom, she was role model. I want to be in the hotel and hospitality business. How you became the wow captain of submarine? Because it's one of the biggest dream I believe of all boys. They want to be hero, and then it's like or pilot, really military pilot, or submarine captain, or probably go to space now. How the first question actually not to ask many questions all the time, but how actually you became and how it transferred or affect your the whole life after that you started from deep in the ocean.
I'll do a 1 minute life story, but going back to the childhood, as you mentioned, and maybe ideals there, and I think that the kind of the heroes. It was a good point. For me, when I grew up, my father was working as a fireman, so he was working in the fire department, and I remember he was in a big fire, and they were able to rescue a baby, and he told me all about that, and it was covered in the news, so it's the front page of the news where he was there, and it's those kind of movie scene actually, where they were carrying out a baby out of a burn. So that is, of course, made me extremely proud, and I really look up to him, and I really want to be a fireman for many many years. When I get older, I was fascinated with the way the military was working, and the capacities and opportunities through education in the military. So I did that. I went through the officers training, Naval Academy, and started my career on the submarine, because a good friend of mine was there, and that was also kind of the not everyone selected submarines, and it was you needed to be selected. You need to go through a lot of tests. So it's not something for everyone. So that made it even more exciting. So I did that for a long period of time, and I was able to qualify as a captain after a while, and did that for 3 years, and then I also became the trainer for the captains for submarines. And then after a little while there, I started working at the defense staff, and short after that, I decided to leave the military, and I started within the management consulting. Did that for almost 10 years, working with multiple different companies, multiple different tasks and roles, and really focusing on a lot with regards to risk assessments, to compliance, to sustainability, to governance and strategy. So it was a good introduction to all the things that we're working on now and business as well. So that kind of and at that time, sustainability was not something that was really high on the agenda for any company. But I think we were 3 people that was focusing on sustainability. Now there are probably 300 in the same company working on sustainability in management consulting. So after 10 years there, I wanted to go back to a leadership role and in a line role in the shipping company. So it was good coming back to the maritime industry again.
Yes, and I'm sure that submarine life must also require a level of respect for diversity in thinking, but it should be also very nice managed and organized, right? Given the idea that this small team should operate under such high stakes. And before we wrap it up, first of all, I would like to thank you so much for your sharing your personal story, and it's amazing and fascinating story of your father. I'm so proud. We need more that kind of people, and we need more your fathers. And before we wrap up, let's turn to our podcast tradition. And as soon as a magical time of Christmas, and we all need a little bit more belief in magic now. I believe in the special, stressful circumstances we are living, operating now. So I would like to remind about this very special magical lamp which Aladdin had in his fairy tale. And the genie, he was really cool with 3 wishes. I am probably a little bit more sustainable, just a little bit shy opportunities I master. So if I could grant just one wish for you, like your Mrs. Saturday Genie, what would be that wish? Okay, internet. For me now
Yeah,
my wish really is
that's a big
internet.
question. Uh, yeah, I think the
Please, Jean, we need 2 more minutes.
yeah, I think that would be yeah, I think that it would be easy to have a wish for the internet, but no, on a serious note, so when my kids ask me for what I wish for Christmas, I always tell them I want snow because I love skiing. But I don't think that that would be something that I would want from the genie.
Mm.
I'm very concerned about so since the internet is not very good. So I'm very concerned about the sufferings of a lot of people in the world, and that suffering is caused by wars around the world, countries and fighting each other, and inside countries is fighting each other as well. So whether it's a kind of old-fashioned wish, but if I could really wish for something, that would say that it would be related to peace. I really wanted to see that we are able to stop the conflicts around the world because they are affecting so many people and causing so much suffering.
And with this great and, of course, very important wishes, we all are joining, and let's just, yes, summarize all our power to send it to all genies and all fairy tales. And with these words, I would like to thank you, our listeners. If you listen us now, so you're still with us, which is very nice for me to know that you're at least becoming a bit being a little bit loyal, even if we have that much troubles with internet. And I would like to finalize our episode again, communist diversity, and by quoting the Werner Myers. Diversity is being invited to the party, but inclusion is being asked to dance. Thank you for us, stand with us together, and we are soon back. Thank you, Øystein, for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Valeria.